to evade enemy radar. Hugging the landscape tightly, it speeds along at nearly 500 miles an hour, just 50 feet off the ground. It's a truly amazing feat of flying, and all without a pilot. Some would even say no human could possibly match the skill of a cruise missile. Keith Dennison, one of the finest fighter pilots in England, will put this theory to the test. As a chief test pilot at BAE Systems, he's up for the challenge of chasing a cruise missile in a flight simulator. The simulator team at BAE have designed a low-level, high-speed mission across northern England, a tough challenge.
100 feet is low, it's very low, but it's something that we do train to do.
This is what Dennison is up against, the Storm Shadow, a European cousin of the Tomahawk. Dennison will fly a simulation of the Eurofighter Typhoon, one of the most advanced fighter aircraft in the world.
Even if the missile surprises me and gets away a little bit, then I've got the potential in this aeroplane to turn very tightly and get back with the missile again. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
As programmed, the missile suddenly breaks away to the right, surprising Dennison.
Okay, we're going to have to reset that. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
The battle of wits begins again. The missile is difficult to follow. It is small, agile, and fast. Flying as low as 50 feet above the ground. A mistake at this speed would leave Dennison only fractions of a second to react. There is a real danger he could crash. But his training and experience has taught him to remain calm and focused. He almost makes it look easy. After 3 minutes of high-speed pursuit, the Storm Shadow has still not managed to shake the Typhoon off its tail. On this short trip, the missile couldn't beat the pilot. But it hasn't been easy.
You wouldn't wish to be doing that sort of intensity of flying for very long periods. Certainly not hand-flying the aeroplane. It takes a very great deal of concentration to fly at those levels and those speeds. So you would not want to be doing it for a long time, no.
Well, radar navigation in a cruise missile never gets tired. It does have one weakness. It needs geographic features to lock onto. That is why the cruise missiles in Desert Storm didn't attack Baghdad head-on. U.S. mission planners had feared their Tomahawks would get lost over the flat and featureless deserts of Iraq. So instead, they chose to fly them the long way around over the Zagros Mountains of Iran. Once the Tomahawk zeroes in on its target, it will strike with extreme precision. But how does it know exactly when to attack? Find out when Megastructures continues. You are watching Megastructures on the National Geographic Channel. In 1944, an unknown flying object attacked London. Mysteriously, it seemed to know exactly when it reached the city and just fell out of the sky. The German V-1, the so-called buzz bomb, was designed to terrorize Britain.
London is doomed, said Dr. Goebbels. And I don't
While Londoners wonder what had hit them, a U.S. officer is busy finding out. Hap Arnold had worked on the Kettering bug, the world's first cruise missile built 26 years earlier.
Hap Arnold went to London right after the D-Day invasion, and while he's staying on the suburbs in a house on the southwest part of London, about 5:30 in the morning, the first buzz bombs come over, and he's awakened by them going off, and they're hitting about 1.5 miles from where he's staying. Later in the day, he takes the opportunity to go out and actually visit one of these buzz bomb sites. And he goes to the thing, he sees the bits and pieces, and he quickly understands they've taken a bomb and stuck it on the front of some sort of an aircraft.
The tangled wreckage concealed important clues about how this amazing weapon found its target. Hap Arnold collected all the pieces he could find and shipped them back to the U.S.
This is the fuel tank section, right, Joe?
Correct.
This is what Hap Arnold would have seen, is bits and pieces like this. Actually, he even talks about seeing bits of the nose cone and the wings were pretty much gone, but the tail surface was still available to him. It's always bigger than it looks in the pictures, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's a big dent in the top of it, too.
I guess it hit the ground hard.
Yeah.
From battered parts like these, American engineers began to reverse engineer Hitler's secret weapon. 3 weeks later, they cracked it. The V-1 had a simple yet powerful jet engine, which accelerated it to an incredible 400 miles an hour. But the most important riddle the Americans solved was how the V-1 knew when to drop. A propeller at the tip of the missile turned as it moved through the air. Each revolution was counted by an odometer in the tail section. At a preset mileage, a guillotine cut the pneumatic hoses to the rudder, locking it in position. 2 detonators then ejected a set of spoilers, disrupting the airflow under the elevators and sending the V-1 into a steep dive. Called the Doodlebug, the V-1 was only accurate enough to hit a city the size of London. Good enough for the Germans.
Robot bombs damaged or destroyed 800,000 English buildings in 6 weeks. Over 1 million people have been evacuated from the city of London.
The V-1 had to be stopped.
The Doodlebug is coming in at 440 miles an hour, which meant that and the Spitfire would only do about 350 miles an hour, I suppose, the maximum. So you would come in at 10,000 feet, and in a screaming dive, you would be brought down, and the radar would bring you down right onto the Doodlebug. So you're coming in, you can say it like that, and actually you would overtake the Doodlebug on the inside by about 100 miles an hour.
The pilots only had a split second to shoot, and if they got it wrong, they were in trouble.
I was stupid enough to come in dead astern and open fire on the thing when I was absolutely dead astern, and the thing blew up and made an awful mess of the Spitfire. So one never did that again. You learned that very quickly.
Terry Spencer tried another angle of attack.
I was intrigued as to whether there was a pilot in the thing or not, or what was flying these things. So I get about 2 feet in and 2 feet below the wing, and I noticed that as soon as I turned the Spitfire up like that, we would find out later on, it toppled the gyro, and then the thing just spun straight in.
The press loved the story. Terry Spencer was nicknamed Tip 'em Up Terry, the man who had destroyed a V-1 with a flick of his wing.
Dramatic films of the guns in action at the height of the terror, spectacular pictures.
Within a few weeks, British defenses got the better of the V-1.
There it is, the flying bomb.
Over half the 8,000 bombs that reached Britain were brought down. The Germans eventually abandoned the weapon. Americans kept trying.
Mass production of robot bombs in American factories, an adaptation of the German V-1.
U.S. engineers tried to turn the V-1 into a high-precision weapon, but they couldn't.
from the launching platform, a robot goes whizzing.
The American robot bombs still missed their targets by over 8 miles. The modern Tomahawk is 1,000 times more accurate. First, it takes a photo of the target area and compares it to a digital photo in its computer memory. Then a GPS signal guides the missile into the target. Once locked on, a Tomahawk hits within an accuracy of 10 yards. Some say it could even fly through a window. But what if the target is invisible, sheltered beneath thick layers of earth and armored concrete? And now, the conclusion of megastructures. Cruise missiles may be incredibly accurate, but have one serious problem: hardened targets. A Tomahawk is designed to be stealthy and light, carrying only 1,100 pounds of explosives. That won't do the job if the target is a deeply buried military bunker, as Sidney Alford will demonstrate. Using a scale model, he simulates a missile attack on a bunker built into rock.
In it, I propose to place an array consisting of a military truck and some little chaps.
Alford's detonator mimics a direct missile strike on the surface of the bunker.
Firing! 4, 3, 2, 1. Ah.
A Tomahawk exploding on the surface of a bunker is no more than a pinprick.
Crucial point now is what's happened inside the tunnel. And a little bit of dust has fallen off the roof of the tunnel, but apart from that, everyone's standing up in their action positions. How good as new. Since this detonator stroke bomb exploded in air on the surface, there was nothing confining the pressure, so the extremely high pressure of the gases generated by the bomb could simply dissipate in the surrounding air. They gave up their energy in the form of a shockwave, which is what you heard. You heard quite a loud bang.
To pack more punch, a cruise missile needs a bunker-busting warhead filled with heavy metal. As the heavy warhead pushes the missile deep into the target, a smart fuse detects what kind of material it is traveling through. Once it reaches the air of the bunker, the warhead detonates. Now, Alford simulates what a bunker-busting missile can do.
Here's a very similar block of desert to the previous one. This time, however, we assume that the incoming missile was able to penetrate into the rock a substantial distance.
This time, Alford is so confident that he uses only half as much explosive.
Firing! 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, you can see this is clearly a very different effect. First of all, on the surface, I can see no damage at all. If we look here, we can see obvious damage. The tunnel